What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is one that's been in the works for 7 months, if you can believe it or not. Most of that is my fault, I will have to admit, but it came right after I made this video right here where I asked 10 of my friends for a song recommendation. And I said, you know what? I love movies, I love songs, so let me do a movie recommendation version instead. Now, obviously I knew it was going to take a while to watch 10 movies as opposed to just listening to 10 songs. But I also did not anticipate my laziness and my unwillingness to watch certain movies. You know, sometimes you just don't want to watch a movie, and that's what happened. So it was about June 2025 when I asked all my friends for these recommendations. So if you guys are watching this, I'm sorry it took me so long to watch your recs. But we're here now in February 2026. I watched all 10, I ranked them, and yeah, we're about to get into it. Now, to preface, most of these movies are way more mainstream than the songs. Some of those songs are super niche. These are more mainstream movies. Also, basically every movie on this list is a good watch. So if you're 10, 9, 8, whatever, don't take offense to it. I would recommend most of these movies. They're all good. But without further ado, let's actually get into it. Number 10, Pacific Rim. Now, this was recommended to me by my friend Nate. He made a cameo in the Nashville vlog. Go check that out if you haven't seen it already. And unfortunately, Nate has had back-to-back last place finishes in the recommendation series. However, like I said, this is a good movie. I talked about it in one of my what I watched for a month videos. So I won't get super deep into it, but you know, it's a 2013 movie. It feels like the year 2013, but I love, you know, kaijus, that part of Japanese media. Idris Elba is a great actor. It just wasn't, it's a fun movie, but it's not like like a super well done classic that can be compared to some of the other movies on this list. So that's at 10. Number 9, Paris, Texas. Now, this was recommended to me by Jack. And I also talked about this in one of those what I watched for the month videos. This was just, it's a very impressive filmmaking feat with the cinematography, especially for the time, the colors and everything. The acting is great, but it's just such a slow burn. And it's sometimes it gets a little boring. And that may be my freaking dopamine, doom scrolling mind where I need action. You know, I don't want to be like that, but this is just a slow movie. And there's a lot of portions of the movie where there's just not a lot going on. So unfortunately, it's at 9, but it's a great movie that I think most people should watch. It's, you know, one of those, it's on everyone's list of a classic movie to watch. Now, number 8, we have Magazine Dreams. This was recommended to me by Alex. Now, this was a very, very heavy and at times super sad movie. Alex prefaced it with this text up here. I'll show you guys, you can read it on the screen. And he wasn't lying. It was a brutal watch. It's a movie that kind of leaves you feeling a little empty inside after you watched it. And Jonathan Majors' character, and he's basically he's the main character. He's the only like actor that really has more than 5 minutes of screen time. And Jonathan Majors was unbelievable in this movie. I understand there was a lot of, you know, controversies around his name, but I'm very surprised he didn't get an Oscar nomination for this performance. It was unbelievable acting. However, I will probably never rewatch this, nor do I want to. You're really just watching a train wreck happen right in front of you. And it was just hard to watch, to be honest with you. However, I do think that it's an important movie, especially considering, you know, the fitness community, the incels, mental health crisis, the male loneliness epidemic. These are all buzzwords, but the movie talks a lot about that and has to do with a lot of these subjects that are important and very much real, you know. So number 8 was Magazine Dreams, but it's definitely a very well done and important movie to watch. Number 7, we have the rom-com About Time. This was recommended to me by my girlfriend Gianna. It's a really well done, solid rom-com. That's all there is to it. It evoked, you know, some real emotions, way more than just your typical, you know, 50% Rotten Tomatoes rom-com. This was a good movie. This was a really solid watch. I loved most of the acting, and I really loved the dad, who was Bill Nighy. I think he was in Harry Potter. That's where I recognize his face from, but he was very good in this movie. Number 6, They Cloned Tyrone. This was recommended to me by my boy Noah, aka Get Bouncy Noah. Go subscribe to his channel. The 3 main characters in this movie were great, especially John Boyega, who I almost didn't even recognize, you know, from his work in Star Wars. as Fontaine in this movie. And of course, I need to see more of Jamie Foxx as a pimp. That was just a great character, so funny. Also, holy crap, Kiefer Sutherland's character introduction was like a nuclear bomb. That was like one of my favorite parts of this movie. I didn't expect him to be in the movie, and he just killed it as soon as he appeared on screen. And in terms of the messaging behind the movie, I won't spoil it, but it's a great movie that more people need to watch. It's a very important message about systemic racism, consumerism, and more. And I loved how they didn't film this movie on film, but they made it look like they did. So I love that like nostalgic aesthetic behind it. And the movie really gave me serious Jordan Peele vibes, and I mean that in a compliment in the utmost sense of the word. It was very well done. Number 5, we have Warrior. This was recommended to me by Mikey. I talked about this again in one of my what I watched in the month videos, but this was just an awesome movie. It's a great action, great emotion. You know, as someone with a brother, it's a story about two estranged brothers who come together, and you know, it's a dude movie where there's a lot of fighting involved, so you just want to fight afterwards. It's great. You know, it's like just a great movie. I talked about it in an older video, so go check that out. But just a good movie. Really good movie. Number 4, Braveheart. Now this was recommended to me by a different Nate, not Pacific Rim Nate, but we have Braveheart Nate. And this is just an essential dude movie. There were some sick battle scenes. Obviously, it was a completely different plot than Gladiator, but it reminded me a lot of Gladiator. I prefer Gladiator more. That's just a classic. But this was a great watch. Surprised I hadn't seen it before, but definitely had been meaning to. It's kind of a classic war underdog uprising movie that has tons of quotables and great action. And William Wallace is a classic hero, and I must say that King Edward Longshanks is an amazing villain in this. He just a great dynamic there. And it's crazy that this is like based on a true story. Like Scottish history, if you haven't, I read about it after watching this movie, and I would suggest you should too. But like William Wallace was a real dude, and he actually led like a real uprising, and it's crazy. I will say one of the things holding this back is, I mean, it's 3 hours long, and some movies that are 3 hours long don't feel like they are. This one did. However, I would say the last hour was my favorite. So, I mean, it redeemed itself in that, but it was very long. Number 3, we have the oldest movie on this list, Vertigo. This was recommended to me by Jacob. Now, this is an Alfred Hitchcock movie. I had never seen any of his works, despite, you know, him being known as one of the most famous, greatest directors of all time. So this was definitely good to delve into his filmography, excuse me. With that being said, this was just an utterly depressing movie about guilt, deceit, and obsession. Again, this is a movie that kind of just leaves you feeling empty inside once you finish it. No spoilers. Definitely would recommend this movie as a must watch. And since it was released in 1958, you know, it's one of the oldest movies I've ever seen, but I had also never seen any of these actors before, really. I thought Jimmy Stewart, I guess, well, he was awesome, and Kim Novak as well. However, whatever you do not look up what Kim Novak looks like now. It's a jump scare. Number 2, we have The Grand Budapest Hotel. This was recommended to me by Izzy, and this is an essential Wes Anderson film. I didn't love his style of filmmaking at first, and I didn't really love this movie at first, but it just grew on me as it kept going. And by the end of it, I loved it. Also, this is an insanely star-studded cast. Like, not every star has a big role or whatever, but there's this one scene where it's literally like insane cameo after insane cameo after insane cameo of like A-listers. And it was just like, holy crap. Obviously, the main characters are Monsieur Gustave, which is played by Ralph Fiennes, and Zero, who I'm not sure who the actor is. Give me 1 second. Zero is played by Tony Revolori, so shout out to him. Didn't want to leave him off this video. A little shout out. However, with that being said, Willem Dafoe and Adrian Brody are just such good villain actors. Dafoe has been, you know, villains in multiple stuff, but they're so good at playing a villain. And like I said, there's just great chemistry between the characters of Monsieur Gustave and Zero. And Ralph Fiennes is an amazing actor. You know, everyone knows this, but I think like we really need to have some serious conversations about his filmography. It is so stacked. And finally, the number 1 movie I was recommended, Good Will Hunting. This was recommended to me by my boy Aiden, who's also in the Nashville vlog. Now, it's embarrassing to say that I hadn't even seen this movie. You know, it's like this is probably the most famous movie on this list, or one of, and definitely, you know, people talk about this as one of the greats. And it's embarrassing that I hadn't seen it, but now I have. It's not a perfect movie, but it is a very, 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 very good movie with Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. You know, this was very, very good. And let me not forget Minnie Driver, who was also awesome in this. Obviously, I definitely understand why it gets the praise it gets. Several actors turn in career performances. You know, it's deserving of its classic status in film. And also, without this movie, we wouldn't get one of my favorite Mac Miller songs, Soulmate, which is really cool. And yeah, so that's Good Will Hunting, and that is the 10 movies that some of my friends recommended to me that's taken 7 months to watch. Sorry about the wait, but it was very worth it, well worth the wait for me, getting to see all these phenomenal movies. I think all 10 of them are above average films. All 10 of them are films I would like recommend. They're good. So if you're lower on the list, I apologize, but don't take it personally. There's just some bangers ahead of you. With that being said, if you're still watching, please like and subscribe and comment what you thought about some of these movies and what did I get wrong in the rankings. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.
I just wanna ball, mama, I just want it all. I don't care about the law.